So I'm going to talk for a bit about unused and Flynn concepts. But since it would be boring to have this be like just in front of a picture with nothing else, I'm also going to be showing off with the video footage the Dreamcast DLC for Sonic Adventure 1, which I was cheated out of. But now, thanks to mods, you can play it on the PC. You have to click on Dreamcast DLC in the mod loader, and then the button config will actually be able to be selected. So then you can just adjust the mods to your heart's content. The confusing thing is that it says single mode DLC there. If it's like, you have to make sure that it's at I thought that it wasn't working at first because it just loaded up a mod that I didn't want to, like a challenge that I didn't want it to load up, because I didn't just select that mod for like single event. Like on December 1/15, which was the date that I was at, I selected, I should have just been selecting it for like under single event. But yeah, the DLC shows off. The DLC has Halloween and Christmas decorations for Station Square, and it like decorates Station Square in other ways with posters. It puts posters on in the level design of levels like Station Square, and it decorates Twinkle Park with Halloween stuff. Like it's pretty charming. Like, oh yeah, like I was confused here because there's another Christmas mod that Brain Scratch showed off recently that you can have. Like, this is the small Christmas trees mod, and there's also a big Christmas tree mod. Like, supposed to be a huge one right there. Certain DLC will not be loaded if you haven't completed the story mode enough. Like the DLC for the challenge Rebocked for Emerald Coast is not going to load if you haven't beaten Emerald Coast already, because it forces you to not be able to beat Act 2, for example. And same goes for Speed Highways Challenge. It's only Act 1. So it has like story mode restrictions to make sure that it doesn't break things, which the Dreamcast version didn't do. Also, another thing exclusive to the Dreamcast version is that they had you able to select which character would talk, like in the menus. But here it's just the last one you played, or like you can adjust in the Dreamcast DLC mod to have it be whatever character you want. But anyways, now to finally start talking about what I wanted to talk about for the unused concepts thing. But like first, like, no, it's gonna be later, I guess. But I am going to show off in the video that they actually really improved the Metal Sonic model. Like, I was so ecstatic when I saw what they did with him. Like, he doesn't look like shit anymore. Like, an actually good like Metal Sonic model to play as. That was so cool. Like, he was the right shade of blue and everything. And obviously, I'm showing off here that they basically finished the Dreamcast project. So Tails has his adorable model from Dreamcast days and everything. And obviously, I'm gonna fail all of these challenges because they require tediously searching and exploring every single little inch of the hub world for practically all of them. Like it wasn't actually that fun. It was cool to be able to play them though, finally. But anyways, Ian had attempted to get Omega into the comic earlier than Sonic Universe 3. His first attempt would have him kill Tommy Turtle. So it was actually pretty dark, like the way he was originally going to go about it. It would have been interesting though. Oh yeah, here I'm showing off the character mod. They finally let you actually see what the text says, finally. Like, finally, it's not just a bunch of blurry messes. And you can play as Eggman. I saw a character mod where you could play as Shadow too, but I haven't been able to get that to work. This isn't the most up-to-date version of the character mod though. And the Always Metal Sonic code doesn't work anymore. It just makes the game crash. So, and like they have a sound mod like SADX, I think. And when I turned it off, the music didn't play anymore. But anyways, Ian's second attempt to get Omega into the comic would have had him participate in the destruction of Knothole. Sega nixed them both, naturally because they didn't want a mainstream character caught in acts of mass murder. I mean, he was a killer robot of Eggman's, after all, but still. I mean, I think, like, they're trying to redeem him by making him, like, join Gun, but I think he might have been a bit unredeemable at that point. Oh look, physics! Oh, now it decides that I can't go uphill. I was thinking at first, like, if, like, I actually got the emblem legitimately for Sand Hill, but it took me forever to rack up enough combos. Like, over and over and over again with those tries, and, like, if I learned that I could have just jumped up the hill or snowboarded up it normally to get anything I missed, well, it still wouldn't have made a difference because you have to get up, you have to go through them all like under a time limit before the point count disappears, so it would have taken too long to go uphill, so it wouldn't have helped me anyways. But still, that was pretty fun actually. I love that one. Earlier plans for Enerjack Reborn had it so that it was Constable Remington who would be the new Enerjack. So that was pretty cool actually. This was abandoned when it was decided that Remington was not as familiar face to the readership, and that the arc would have spent too much time refreshing readers on who he is. Why would they need to do that? Really? I mean, he's Constable Remington. It's kind of self-explanatory, isn't it? He's the constable. Really? What a stupid decision. I mean, at least if it was Remington, then Knuckles wouldn't have angsted and wangsted so much and been made such a failure of a guardian, like because he was turned into Enerjack. Like, instead they just maybe it really should have been Remington. Like, I don't care that's not like as familiar. At least they would have done something more interesting with this character, and it would have made a lot more sense because he was already brainwashed into being with the Dark Legion at the time. I really like the Halloween mod because, like I don't know, it just really suits it because of the creepy area that it's in. At one point, Ian considered showcasing the members of the Dragon Kingdom Freedom Fighters in a homage to the Furious 5 from DreamWorks' Kung Fu Panda series, but the idea was ultimately scrapped. I guess it was for bullshit copyright reasons. Or maybe because you know what was gonna happen to them later, so it would have... Maybe Sega thought it would be too depressing to have them killed off if we actually got the chance to meet them. So the characters' identities remained a mystery. Maybe it was better that we never got to actually see them, so it wasn't too depressing that they got killed off. Original plans for the story, which began in Sonic issue 225, originally didn't include the Genesis saga. The first draft of the story, 225, would have ended with Sally's robotization. It was decided by the stupid editor Paul Kamansky that what was planned wasn't enough to celebrate the Sonic franchise's 20th anniversary. Yeah, so they had a stupid, idiotic Death Egg Madness instead, where it was the stupidest excuse ever to have a Sonic 1 and 2 adaptation. Made absolutely no sense. They could have just had them be a separate special and had it make a lot more sense, and instead they vastly dragged out Sally's robotization. Oh, what a terrible, terrible decision. Well, at least I know that it's not Flynn's fault now. Didn't know that when I reviewed it, but... Also, I switched Knuckles entirely by accident there. I don't know if I held a button or something. It's better to switch to Eggman to find the mysterious rings, like just to be safe. Like, you press RB to activate the character mod, and when you're Eggman, if I remember the controls correctly, you hold Y to float upwards, you press A to land him officially, and you press B and you hold down up on the analog stick to go up. Or is it like, yeah, like you move the analog stick to let him move around. The controls are weird. But yeah, like, this is pretty funny. Sonic issue 237 was originally solicited as including a mysterious figure who would be following Sonic and the other members of Team Fighters. Though confirmed in the story to be Lita and Lyco, Flynn later revealed that it was originally to be the missing in action Hershey St. John, which would have made sense because she disappeared but we never saw her body, so she probably was just legionized. Hershey was also intended to be included in the roster of the Secret Freedom Fighters, but was replaced with Lita and Lyco. The original plans for the Chaotix quest arc would have focused on Mighty and Ray's travels, while SBO sends word to the Shinobi clan. Mighty and Ray would eventually find themselves encountering former Robians that were left deroboticized and without any homes, specifically Liza the Chameleon. Wasn't she, well, Chameleon, wouldn't that be the pink girl? And they even had a redesign made for her, actually. Being unaware of the concept of robots, the Rainbow Valley Chameleons forced Liza into exile out of fear upon being deroboticized. Feeling bad for her, SPO would have relocated Liza to his clan, explaining her cameo appearance during the Iron Dominion saga. Having been assigned to find and assist them, Liza would have followed Mighty and Ray, rather ineptly, being somewhat uncomfortable around different people, not completely comfortable with her invisibility skills for some reason. Her past life as an unwanted former Robian would have given her some common ground with Matilda and others. That all sounds really interesting. Like, actually developing that pink chameleon girl's character. But no. Man, that sucked.
But don't hold on too long.
I mean, that sounds kind of better than the, like, Vector's travels with the singing medieval people. Although their breaking into the castle was interesting. But I'm sure Mighty and Ray did that too. During the actual Worlds Collide event, an early draft for the battle between the heroes and the team of Metal Sonic, Bass, and Treble included an idea for Metal Sonic and Bass fusing together in a fashion similar to the Super Adapter from the Eggman series. The idea was rejected by either Sega or Capcom, but was referenced in the issue's off-panel. This fused form of the two would have been vulnerable to Rouge's Black Wave. Again, that sounds interesting. Ian Flynn's original long-term plans for the series reportedly stretched as far as the comic's 300th issue. Before the effects of the lawsuit became apparent, it was known that certain planned stories had to be shifted to accommodate the inclusion of the Worlds Collide storyline. Another reason that I don't really like that storyline. Currently, Flynn is in the process of completing Lost Hedgehog Tales, a completely independent work to let fans in on how its original long-term plans for the comic would have played out, as well as how the heavily edited Endangered Species storyline would have gone. The work is being split up into chapters, the first of which was actually released on October 30th, 2015. Really? Where can you find that? I want to hear about that. On September 26, 2016, Flynn updated his post on Bubble King, revealing that due to the current litigation regarding some of the affected characters, the project had been shelved for the time being. However, on October 9th, 2017, he stated that there could be a chance that the original continuity could be concluded in the IDW comics. Was he really that delusional that he thought that would happen? I mean, come on. They don't care about the original continuity. And if they cared, then they would have had the Freedom Fighters in it. The first chapter of Lost Hedgehog Tales gives readers some insight on ideas and concepts that went unused during the period between issue 225 to issue 247. The original storyline would have lasted 50 issues, from 225 to 275. The intent was to have the freedom fighters suffer a devastating loss that they couldn't easily bounce back from. Originally, 200... Yeah, I already talked about that. Or Sally being roboticized 5 issues early. Ian had, in fact, as I mentioned before, considered Antoine dying after his sacrifice. But after the overwhelming fan response to Sally's supposed death at the end of issue 225, as well as the reaction to Ant's actual sacrifice, it was unanimously decided to have him survive. An earlier draft of the Loyalty story arc from issues 237 to 38 had team fighters encountering the previously presumed to be dead Hershey, who had since gone undercover as a Legionnaire. How could she be undercover? How can you fake having cybernetics? How would they be cybernetics given to her by, like, Rotor? Couldn't be Rotor, or he would have told everyone that she was alive. Like, who could have given her cybernetics? Ugh. That sounds like it would have been really stupid. I could understand if she was an actual Legionnaire, but undercover? Who would have disguised her? Wouldn't Eggman know? Hershey would reveal that she never got the chance to let Jeffrey know that she was alive. When told of his betrayal, she would have ended her duplicity and returned to the Nanite City. These changes came about primarily due to Sega's request that the Olympic trial story in issue 242 be created. The Hero story arc, from issue 239 to 40, was originally planned to be a 3-parter. The first 2 parts would focus on Team Fighters and Freedom in their respective battles as normal. The third part, however, intended for 241, would have revolved entirely around the newly founded Secret Freedom Fighters and how they secretly helped to turn the tide for Team Freedom in their previous battle. In the end, the moments with the Secret Freedom Fighters were merely reworked and included in Part 2 itself. Issue 241's Unraveling was first planned as a series of backup stories, and the story originally ended with Naugus merely tricking Jeffrey. When it was decided that that wasn't a satisfying enough ending, the idea of him possessing Jeffrey was made. But wait, didn't he trick him anyways? It doesn't say in the text here how he tricked him. Team Fighter's battle against the Krezzy was originally intended as a story all to itself, sharing space with the Olympic Trials story in 242. When the latter ended up being way longer than originally intended, the battle was reworked and shown in Unraveling instead. All of the other information known by this point comes only from tidbits dropped by Ian and the other creatives, including the fact that the earliest draft of Endangered Species was planned as a Sonic Universe arc. Flynn stated that, as you'd expect, both versions had happy endings, unlike the version that was forced to be printed. Saffron, who would have had a new design if the original Endangered Species plan had gone through. The arc would have marked the debut of a new design for her, of which Ellie Baker designed. And Saffron would have played a significant role in the arc. I doubt she would have had, like, more character development, though, to give her more of a personality. And, unfortunately, Shard and the Krezzy originally played no role in the arc. Yeah, that I'm glad they changed that, actually. Bunny Robot, as everyone expected, would have been legionized. Artist Tracy Yardley revealed on Flynn's blog several concept sketches for Bunny showing off designs for her new robot limbs. So, would they have looked different from the old ones? Because that's the only reason they would bother having designs of it. It was revealed that she was wearing a poncho to obscure her not yet finalized design at the end of Sonic Universe 49. Several elements of her new organic body were later adapted for her design in the rebooted timeline. Finibus would have been a key player in the lead up to 275, and they don't tell me what exactly that would have happened. What would have happened then? And according to Ben Bates, had it not been for the stupid Worlds Collide crossover moving things around, 250 would have been the issues 250 would have been the issue in which Sally was deroboticized. Well, that already makes Archie Sonic Online way better, because, well, while it was only like a few issues after, but Archie Sonic Online had her deroboticized in literally just 2 issues in the main comic. Like, not including the Mobius Legends stuff, but, like, 250, that's just 1 issue. Well, at least they weren't planning to stretch it out for, like, another 100 issues, or 20 issues. But, yeah. Another reason I don't like that crossover. Ian Flynn has revealed a number of details about ideas that were considered for the Worlds Unite crossover, but rejected by Sega, which would including Phantasy Star Online as one of the Sega properties, having X join Super Mega Man and Super Sonic for the final battle of Sigma by undergoing a super transformation, which would give him a gold version of his armor from Mega Man X4, and he planned to have Team Dark helping the Not Whole Freedom Fighters in the unified army. That last thing sounds really interesting, but of course it didn't happen because that would have been cool. And the artwork for the comic interiors of just before the Archie Sonic comic was cancelled was later released online by their respective artists. So that's it. So that was interesting. How Axis was supposed to trick Jeffrey was that he would play to the hero's sympathies with his weakened, sickened state, but the editor thought that was too weak. By the way, the character mod crashed on me the first time I tried to switch to Tails in Lost World. I love the fact that it barely crashes anymore, though. For some reason, whenever I exit out of the game without exiting out of the game, so it's still on the toolbar, I can't exit out of it at all. And I have to turn off my computer. I had to turn off my computer so many times when I was trying to record the footage for this. And it crashed multiple times too.